Hello everyone, this is Kara and welcome to this week's Hatha Yoga practice. Today we are going to take a deep dive into working with back bending postures, which can be great for helping to correct a rounded spine and upper body posture due to extended periods of sitting. You'll want to have some props on hand. If you got it, a couple blocks, a strap, a blanket, and a couple pillows, or even a few more pillows, depending on how tight your rack is and how much support you need from the props. Beautiful, so we're going to go ahead and get started with some breathing and the laying down posture. And you can have your strap handy from the mat and your blocks as well. Okay, so coming onto the back, let's have the knees up, bent, feet out to the edges of the mat, turning the toes in, letting the knees fall together, lifting up the pelvis, and tucking the tailbone under, laying the sacrum or low back flat on the mat. And then as well, trying to get the upper back, shoulder blades flat on the mat as well. The hands can rest on the diaphragm, the belly, on the sides, whatever feels good. Let's take a few deep cleansing breaths to start. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling out through the mouth, beginning to release tension down through the points of contact with the earth, so through the feet, the buttocks, the shoulder blades, the head, the elbows, just letting all that tension on the exhale start to drain down into the earth. Beautiful. Let's continue with some full yogic breathing. So breathing into the belly, diaphragm, and the upper chest with an emphasis on bringing the breath into the back of the body. So this is not something that we generally learn to do from breathing. So we're going to try and see if we can expand into the back as much as possible, starting to release tension in the fascia or connective tissue around the muscles. So breathing in, starting low in the belly. See if we can fill up the belly into the sides and then into the lumbar area, the low back. And let's just take a few breaths here first in the belly, and then we'll move into the diaphragm, upper chest, then do a few full yogic breaths. So starting with the belly, breathing in. See if you can feel the lower back muscles and fascia around the muscles expanding. And the exhale, releasing tension in the pelvis, the hips, low back. Let's take 2 more breaths here. Seeing how present we can stay to the sensations in the lower back. And then coming up to the mid-chest, the diaphragm, breathing into the diaphragm, but again, then seeing if we can press the mid-back into the floor. Feeling into that whole area on either side of the spine, expanding through the rib cage. And the exhale, releasing tension down into the floor. Let's take a couple more breaths, seeing how much we can expand in all directions. Focusing our awareness on the sensations in that mid-back area. Noticing if this area feels more or less constricted than the lumbar area, just observing. And then let's come to the upper chest. Breathing up underneath the collarbones, and then see if we can feel the shoulder blades pressing into the mat and feeling the sensations in the upper back. Releasing, relaxing, a lot of tension usually up here in this area. Letting the shoulders release, jaw release. One more breath in the upper chest. Expanding into the back. Relaxing tension. Beautiful. Now we can bring the hands back down to the belly and try some full yogic breaths. Bringing the breath from the belly diaphragm into the upper chest. See how much we can expand into the back. Really focusing our awareness on the sensations in the back. We'll take 3 of these. Again, noticing which area in the back feels more open or constricted, depending. Beautiful. And then as we move throughout our practice, seeing if we can keep that awareness in the back of the body. Beautiful. So let's just drop the knees side to side a few times, beginning to stretch out the low back. We're going to go through a few stretches here to start opening all areas of the back, starting with the low back. Inhaling to center, exhaling over the other side. You can also let the neck and the head turn in the opposite direction of the knees. Coming back to center, grabbing our strap, let's continue to stretch into the low back and the hamstrings. So the hamstrings, often when these hamstrings get tight, they can pull on the lower back and cause low back pain. So it's always good to, when you're working with the back, to start by stretching out the hamstrings. So we'll place the strap on the arch of the foot, inhaling and exhaling, pulling the knee in towards the chest, allowing it to bend as it needs to. You can let the foot move a little bit side to side, start loosening up the hip joint. We can also extend the opposite leg and orienting the hip down towards the floor to intensify the stretch. Inhaling and exhaling, seeing if we can deepen into it, pulling the knee in closer to the chest. Relaxing the shoulders down away from the ears, neck is long. Again, maybe moving the foot a little bit side to side. Breathing into that tension, maybe giving yourself a little massage in the back of the leg. Bring the straps into the same hand as the leg, letting the other arm stabilize by bringing it out to the side on the ground, inhaling, and then exhaling, letting that leg fall open, stretching through the inner thigh, trying to orient the left hip down towards the floor. You can also stretch the opposite hand above the head, reaching out through the fingertips, reaching out through the toes, lengthening through the side of the body. Breathing into the low back. The exhale, see if you can drop that foot a little closer down towards the floor. Inhaling the leg up to center, switching hands on the strap, stabilizing with the opposite hand on the ground, letting that leg foot fall down towards the floor as we stabilize with the forearm and the elbow on the floor. Deep breath in the belly here and into the back. So we're going to feel a nice stretch into the low back, through the hip, into the IT band. Keep your knee above hip height here, above hip flexion. So you don't want to be down here. You can also pull up the foot, pull on the strap and move the foot up towards the head. On the exhale, seeing if we can deepen into the twist, letting the foot fall closer to the floor. Breathing, expanding into the low and mid back. Keeping this right shoulder down on the mat. Just seeing how present we can stay to our bodily sensations and with our breath, letting any thoughts that enter into the mind just releasing out with the exhale, trying to keep the mind empty and still. Inhaling back to center. Exhale, release the strap. Bend the knee and hug the knee into the chest. Avoid pressing directly on your knee joint, so hugging it just below the knee, up and in. Breathing into the low back. Seeing if we feel a difference after stretching out a bit of the side. We can rotate this ankle too. Just noticing how the lower back is starting to feel. Inhaling, exhaling, releasing the leg down. We'll come onto the other side. Bring the strap under the arch of the foot. Inhale, press the low back into the floor. Exhale, and pull the knee in towards the chest. Again, maybe a little dynamic movement, maybe giving a little massage to the fascia and hamstring. Inhaling and exhaling, coming into the adductor stretch, stretching out the right arm, right foot, letting the other leg fall out to the side. Now let's take one more breath here. Inhaling to center, switching hands on the strap. Slight bend in the knee, keeping the knee above hip flexion here. Coming into the twist, we can also stretch through the neck, looking to the opposite hand. Breathing into the back on the exhale, seeing if we can let the foot fall closer to the earth. Inhaling to center. Exhale and release the strap. Hug the knee up and in towards the chest. Shoulders down away from the ears. Shoulder blades slightly in towards the spine. Chest is open. Breathing into the back. Maybe rotating the ankle a few times. Inhaling the other leg up and in. Let the knees be wide. Let's hug both knees into the chest and rock a bit side to side. Massaging the low and mid back. And then hugging the knees into the chest, rolling on up to start to stretch into the upper back, pressing through the shoulder blades, keeping the shoulders down away from the ears, chin in towards the chest, Crown of the head moving towards the knees. Breathing into the back, pressing the mid-back into the floor. Inhaling. Exhaling. Bringing the feet down onto the mat, hip width apart, arms down to the sides. Coming into gentle back bend of bridge pose. Inhaling, pressing through the heels, squeeze the glutes. Reach out through the knees. Lift the hips. Try and bring the hips in line with the knees and the shoulders. Activate your inner thighs so the knees don't fall out. Let's do a few repetitions here. Keep the neck long. Just listen to the sound of my voice. Try not to rotate your head to the side. Inhaling, pressing up. Exhaling down. Inhaling, pressing up. Stabilizing here with the low back. Exhaling down. And inhaling up. Let's deepen into the pose. Walking the elbows in. If you can interlace the fingers, that's great. If not, we can grab onto the strap and come up onto the shoulders. Again, if we can interlace the fingers, we press the hands and the arms down into the floor. If not, we're holding onto the strap. Try and rotate these shoulders in towards the spine here, squeezing those shoulder blades. Neck is long. Hamstrings working, adductors working, glutes, everything working. Weight in the heels, inhaling up, exhaling, releasing down. Inhaling the knees into the chest. Inhale and exhale, release down. We'll come back up into the pose, inhaling up. You can also deepen by walking the fingertips towards the ankles and pressing them into the inner ankles. If this doesn't quite happen, just go back to walking the elbows in. You can always just keep the hands separated, pressing the palms into the floor. From here, if you do want to come all the way up into wheel pose, Chakrasana, you want to keep your weight in the lower body. Bring the hands next to the shoulders. Inhale, and then exhale, press through the hands, pressing up. Might need to come up on the toes. 30 intense stretch here. Hold it as long as feels good, and then you want to lift the face, the head as you come down to protect the neck. Come on down and releasing down, releasing the knees into the chest, rocking a bit side to side. Inhaling the feet down to the floor. Exhaling, rolling onto the sides. Taking a couple breaths here. And then let's press our way up to tabletop. Hands beneath the shoulders, knees beneath the hips. Inhaling, dropping the belly, dropping the chest, squeeze through the shoulder blades. Inhaling and exhaling, rounding, tuck the chin, tuck the tailbone, press into the back, dropping down into the low back, coming into the mid back, upper back, press with those shoulder blades. Inhaling into cow pose, exhaling into cat. Just do a few more. Coming back to neutral spine. Let's go ahead and grab our blocks for support if we need them here. We'll put one on either side of our hands, and then stepping the right foot up. Bring the foot a little bit forward so that when we bend into the lunge, you can also put a blanket underneath your knee if you feel a lot of pressure there. When we come into the lunge, we want to have the knee over the ankle here at a right angle. Let's engage through, first just stretching through the hip flexor for a moment, bringing the tailbone down. And then trying to come into our crescent lunge here. Inhaling the arms up. And exhaling back. We can bring the palms together. We can make a point with the finger and reach on back. You can also have the hands separated, spreading the fingers. Engage through this glute here to help stabilize the back and stretch through the hip flexor. Arching back, chest is open. Breathing. You can also drop one hand and arch back. Bit of a twist. Bring the hand to the thigh, the calf, the ankle. Inhaling, coming up. And exhaling. Let's come into reverse lunge and stretch out the hamstring one more time. Press the heel down into the floor and then pulling back, lengthening the back of the leg. Back is straight, neck in line with the spine, using the blocks for support if we need it. If not, fingertips to the floor. We can deepen by bringing the chest down towards the knee, shoulders away from the ears. Inhaling, coming up. Exhaling, releasing that leg back, bringing the left foot up. Again, inching it forward a bit and then bending into it, finding that right angle with the knee and the ankle. Engage through the right glute. Brace the core. Inhaling, coming up. Exhaling back. Keep pressing through this front foot as well so that we're not just hanging into this hip here. There's a little space there. And really engaging through our core here to help stabilize the back as we're in the back bend. I'm spreading my toes in the front foot, pressing the four corners of the foot into the floor. Maybe coming into the twist here, deepening into the back bend. You can also bring your block back with you. Inhaling, coming up. And exhaling into reverse lunge. Pulling on the heel, pulling back, lengthening through the leg, lengthening through the crown of the head. Inhaling and exhaling down. You can always lower the height of your blocks as well as you deepen into the pose. Good. Inhaling, coming up, exhaling. Coming back, sitting back on the heels in Vajrasana. Next, we'll come into camel pose. Again, you might like to use some supports here. You can bring a blanket for the knees. We come onto the knees and we want to align knees, hips, shoulders. We can keep the tops of the feet on the floor, or you can also bring your toes to the floor to make your heels a little more accessible. You can also use your blocks here. So if you know that you need a little more height to reach down for the blocks, you want to bring them to the highest height and then bring them in between on the inner feet there. Still trying to keep your knees hip width apart. Rolling the shoulders back and down, engage through the core, hands come to the low back, fingers pointing down, squeeze the elbows in, squeeze the shoulder blades, and then start to press the pelvis forward. Engage through the glutes and the quadriceps, again, to help stabilize the back. Just taking it as far as feels good. We can keep the head hanging back or looking forward. This might just be where you're at today. If you want to try and take it further, we can bring the hands down to the blocks. Fingertips pointing in. Squeeze those shoulder blades. Press the pelvis forward. Squeeze the glutes. If you want to take it further, we bring the hands to the ankles. Again, squeezing the shoulder blades, opening through the chest. Press the pelvis forward. Head looking forward, looks like this. Ustrasana, camel pose, one of my favorites. And then as we come up, we bring the hands to the back. Move very slowly. Might need to release the block so that we can come down into child's pose. You can always use one of your blocks here to rest your forehead. Let the knees be wide, touch the big toes. Sink the chest down towards the floor. So always good to do some counter poses when we do the back bends too. So some forward bending, child's pose, anything that brings the back in more to flexion versus extension. And then we're breathing into the back, just like in the beginning, really focusing our breath into the back of the body, particularly lower back here. And then let's try again, coming back into camel pose. So taking your time, finding what works for you. So if we are feeling pretty open now, we could even try with the tops of the feet on the floor. Inhaling and exhaling, squeezing those shoulder blades, dropping the hands to the heels. Trying to keep the toes pointing back. Again, if that doesn't feel good on the neck, we're looking forward. Squeezing the glutes, engaging hamstrings, quadriceps. So we're creating that base of support. Good, then returning the hands to the back, taking it slow. Inhaling, coming up, widen those knees, touch the toes. And let's release the cheek and the arms to the sides. Oh, really releasing the back completely. So you might even feel your heart rate accelerated here, beating a little faster. The back bending poses definitely activate a lot of energy. They also release a lot of emotions that we store in the back of the body. So just noticing if we're feeling that surge of energy or rising of emotions, just going with it, breathing into it. Good, hands underneath the shoulders. Inhale, press up. Exhale, sitting back in Vajrasana. Let's move the props off the mat. We're going to take it up to standing. So let's first come into down dog, tabletop position. Inhale, toes to the mat. And then exhale, lift up the hips. Walk out the dog, stretching through the calves. Leaning into those lat muscles, attaching to the armpits. Oh yes, spread the fingers. Press the floor away from you. Maybe if the hamstrings are still tight, bend in the knees. Tilt the tailbone up. Align the ears with the inner elbow or the upper arms here, and then rotating the triceps down to the floor. Shoulder blades away from the spine. Good, and then walking into ragdoll here. So again, this is a counter pose for our back bends, coming into forward folds. And then gorilla pose is another great stretch for the back. So we lift the feet, place the back of the hands on the mat, step onto the palms, inhale, and then exhale. Press through the back, try and lengthen the legs and the arms. Stretching through the back. Oh yes, great release in the shoulders as well. We can shrug one shoulder up and then the other to stretch into the quadratus lumborum or the low back muscles. Good. Go ahead and release the hands back to the floor. Bend in the knees. Inhale, sweeping the arms up. Stabilize, press through the feet, engage the core. Let's come into high mountain back bend here. Bring the palms together again. You can make that point with the fingers. Reaching up through the side body. Inhale. Brace through the core. Engage your glutes and the quads as we exhale into the back bend. Inhale to center. Exhale. Hands travel through the heart. Try to keep the legs extended this time. Coming into Uttanasana, forward fold. Bend the knees. Let's go through that a few times. Inhaling, coming up. Exhaling back. Press the pelvis forward. Engage the glutes. Inhale up. Exhale down. Take a breath. If the back of the legs are still really tight, you can always use support of the blocks here, just using blocks for support to hang on to. You can rest the head on. You can also stack blocks to rest the head. And then again, inhaling up. Exhaling back. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. Good. Let's come into standing crescent lunge from here. So, we're going to step the right foot forward, left foot back. Trying to line the feet in the same plane. Toes pointing forward, hips and shoulders towards the front as well. Same thing as when we're in the kneeling position. When you bend that front knee, you want it over the ankle. Brace through the core. Inhale the arms up. Press that back heel down towards the floor, toes pointing forward. Inhaling and exhaling, arching back. Good. Engage this left glute. Engage this whole back leg, hamstrings, quads. Inhale. And then exhale. We can bring those arms down and squeeze those shoulder blades. Or like airplane arms here. If you can interlace the fingers and then open through the chest, that's great. Arching back. You can also grab your strap. Really spreading the toes, pressing the four corners of the feet into that front foot for stability. Good. Let's bring the arms back up. And exhale. Step back to mountain pose. Take a breath. Good. Let's inhale the arms up. Exhale, back bend. Inhale up. Exhale down. Good. A little counter pose here. Bend those knees as we need to. And then stepping the right foot back. Wide enough stance here, coming into the lunge. Back leg is totally active. Engage that back glute. Bend into the lunge, left knee over the ankle. Inhale the arms up. Engage your core, which actually naturally happens when we raise our arms over our head. Our core naturally engages, so that's nice. But we can then emphasize that by pulling the navel in towards the spine. Inhale, and then exhale. Whatever feels good with the arms here. We can keep them separate. Spread those fingers. Keep the shoulders a bit away from the ears. You can also make that point. Activate your inner thigh so the knee is not falling out. And then maybe dropping the arms, coming into airplane arms. Inhaling and exhaling, deepening into the back bend. Demonstrate with the strap here. So if we can't quite get those hands linked together, you can just grab onto the strap, palms up, squeeze the shoulder blades, inhaling and exhaling. So we are just really using our balance here. Keep that core engaged. Good, releasing the strap, inhaling the arms up, and exhale back to mountain pose. Take a breath. Inhale the arms up, exhaling back. Inhaling up, exhaling down. Good, maybe deepening into our forward fold this time. Grab onto the ankles or the calves, pull the chest forward towards the knees, crown of the head, moving towards the floor. Good. And then bring the hands onto the mat. Let's step back into plank pose. Hold plank for a few moments here. A couple breaths, few breaths, 3 breaths. Press through the hands. Don't let the belly or the shoulder blades collapse. Brace through the core. Good. Inhale, drop the knees. Exhale, keep the elbows pinned in. Knees, chest, chin, or Ashtangasana. So coming into Ashtangasana, walk the knees forward a little bit. Little nice, gentle back bend here. Keep the shoulders away from the ears. Press through the heel of the hand. Press the mat kind of forward. Elbows are pinned in. Good. Inhale, slide the belly onto the mat, and then let's come up into Cobra here. Roll those shoulders back and down. Squeeze the glutes. Press the pelvis into the floor. Shoulder blades moving in, and then let's strengthen the back a little bit by lifting the hands off the floor. Neck is long. Good. Inhale. And then exhale. Stack the hands. Touch the big toes. Let the heels fall out. Rest the forehead on the hands. Take a few breaths. Relaxing tension in the back. Come back into high cobra, so separating the feet about hip width apart again. Bringing the hands underneath the shoulders, roll the shoulders back and down, pin the elbows in. Inhaling, coming up, engage the glutes as we press the pelvis into the floor. Pressing into the heel of the hand, keep the elbows in, keep the shoulder blades moving in towards the spine. So I'm really trying to engage the entire back here, okay? So not just the low back, but the mid back and the upper chest and back as well. We can deepen by spreading the knees out towards the edges of the mat, touch the toes, and then arch back. Good. Inhale, lift through the hips, press through the knees, coming into our counter child's pose. Oh, yes. Good. Let's take it back onto the belly and work with locust pose. So chin is on the mat. Feet are about hip width apart. Toes pointing back. And then arms down to the sides. We'll do a few variations here. You can also have your strap handy. So inhaling, lifting through the chest. And then we rotate the palms out, thumbs up. Squeeze those shoulder blades. Internal rotation in the shoulder there. Or actually it's external rotation in the shoulders. And then we can also try lifting the feet. Squeeze those glutes. Reach out through the toes. Press the pelvis into the floor. Great back strengthening pose here. Inhale, and then exhale, release the cheek to the mat. Touch the big toes, let the heels fall out. Rest the top of the hands on the floor. Feeling that heart rate accelerating. Chin onto the mat. Let's try another variation. Inhaling, coming up. Exhaling, lifting the feet. And then we try and interlace the fingers. Squeeze those shoulder blades, come up even higher. You can also grab the strap, grab onto it, palms facing up towards the ceiling. Pull on the strap to help squeeze the shoulder blades and open through the chest. Try and lift those feet high. Deep. Yes, deep stretch, good strengthening. Inhale and exhale. Rest on the opposite cheek. Touch the big toes. Beautiful. Let's work with Dhanurasana or bow pose. First coming into Ardha Dhanurasana, which is half bow pose. You can also use a strap here. So let's extend, like other way, extend the right arm, bend the left leg, and we're going to reach back to grab the top of the foot. If that is not quite accessible, you can loop the strap onto the top of the foot. Try and keep the knee in line with the hip, so don't let the knee move out. Shoulders and hips facing forward. Bend the elbow up towards the ceiling. Squeeze that shoulder blade in towards the spine. Inhale. And then exhale, lifting up. Press the pelvis into the floor and squeeze that glute. Try and get the knee and the thigh off the mat. Reach forward with the fingers. Looking a bit down towards the floor so you're not hyperextending through the neck. Neck in line with the spine. Inhale and exhale. We can pull the foot in towards the buttocks, stretching out the thigh, top of the leg. Inhale, exhale, release. Take a breath. Now let's go on to the other side. So grabbing onto the foot, I'll demonstrate without the strap this time. Inhale, and then exhale, lifting up. Good. Reach out through the knee, squeeze the glute. Press the foot into the hand. Inhale, and exhale, hug the heel in towards the buttocks. Reach out through the knee, squeeze the glute to stretch out the quadricep. And releasing, take a breath. Good, and then if you feel up to it, we can try coming into full bow pose, and you can also use the strap here, so I'll demonstrate both. So coming into full bow pose, we're gonna bend both knees, reach back for the feet. Again, the knees will tend to fall out. We're gonna bring them back in. We're gonna squeeze those shoulder blades. Inhale. And then exhale, we're pressing into the hands with the feet, opening through the chest, pressing the pelvis into the floor. Lift the knees and thighs off the floor if you can, maybe even rocking a bit, massaging those internal organs. If that's not quite accessible, we can use the strap here. So bringing the strap across both tops of the feet. Actually, it's better if you can grab on to both sides. So making a little loop on each side. This is where sometimes it's nice to have a teacher helping you out or a friend. Here we go. Inhale and then exhale. Coming up into Dhanurasana. Keep squeezing those inner thighs. Squeezing the glutes. Good. Inhale. And exhale, release down. Maybe one last quad stretch here. And then releasing down. Let's widen those knees out to the edges of the mat. Press the hands into the floor. Touch the big toes. And release back into child's pose. Oh yes. You can stack the hands. Rest the forehead on the hands. Or take it all the way down. Cheek to the mat, arms on the sides. Whatever feels better. Noticing how all that work with the back, strengthening the back, really gets the heart rate up, maybe sweating a little bit, gets the heat in the body up. So these are great poses for helping to detox the body for all of those reasons and to help boost the metabolism a bit. So if you're ever kind of feeling fatigued, low on energy, all these back bending poses are really great to get an energy boost. Beautiful. So let's press up and then come into a supported Shavasana today in fish pose or reclined hero pose. So I will demonstrate both here. Definitely probably want to use your props here, though you can always do these poses without props. So we're going to make some nice supports for our back here. I like to use some blocks and a blanket, maybe a pillow for the head, depending on how much you want your head and neck to be supported. You can always have another pillow on hand if you need a little more height, either here or here. Good. So if we want to try and come into reclined hero, we come onto the knees and then move the flesh of the calves out towards the side so there's a little more space there. Going ahead, sitting down on the block of the props, and then we start to make our way. So I'm going to actually sit down so then the tailbone is supported by the props. My back, my mid-back between the shoulder blades. And then here maybe I want to have another pillow. We can rest the hands on the sides. You can grab onto the ankles. You can bring the hands above the head. You can grab onto the elbows or extend the arms. So if this is still a challenge and you want to try and still get into the pose, you can always get more height. Putting more height, more pillows on underneath the back. You can also let the head hang if that feels good. Lots of variations in this pose. If this does not feel comfortable at all or not doable, you can extend the legs and then just lean on back. Again, with the props supporting you through the tailbone, the mid-back and the head. Bringing the feet together. Shoulders down away from the ears. Bring the shoulder blades down and in towards the spine a bit to expand through the heart center. Teeing the arms out. And you can always spend some time in reclined hero and then move into supported fish as we move through Shavasana. So whatever feels good here. So getting nice and comfortable, returning our awareness to our breath. Continuing with our full yogic breathing. And now with the support of the props here, you can really press and feel the back pressing into the props. So really helping us focus on breathing into the back of the body. Softening through the face, shoulders, heart center, down through the core, hips, and into the legs. Everything softening, releasing. Let the jaw release, let the tongue float in the mouth. Really letting go and surrendering. So as I mentioned in the practice, we often hold a lot of tension and or emotional tension in the back of the body. Since it's an area of our body that we cannot see, we tend to have some guarding there, unconsciously holding, tensing, guarding. So just noticing if you can kind of feel more of that openness, safety, expansion in the back, and then also just noticing if there's any emotions present or arising after this practice. And just, again, allowing them to release if we need to cry or make some noises or, memories come to the surface. Just seeing if we can let that happen without any resistance, without any judgment, just being with whatever comes up. So I'll spend another few minutes here. Before we move out of this posture, let's take a few moments to breathe into the heart. Madhyasana or fish pose and reclined here, both very heart-opening poses as well as back-bending posture. So just taking a few moments to notice the quality of the energy around the heart. Breathing, expanding through the heart center on the exhale. Just letting go of some of the things burdening the heart. We might feel some tenderness, some holding in of emotion. So just allowing that to flow. If tears come to the eyes, just allowing those emotions and the tears to flow. And really sending ourselves some love and acceptance, some unconditional loving kindness to ourselves and all that we go through in our lives. This is a very challenging time in history and in our lives. So just nurturing ourselves here for our last few breaths. Just allowing all of that energy and emotions that we're holding, just allowing them to flow, releasing out anything that we don't need that's holding us back, and then inviting in love, acceptance, kindness. And on our next inhale, bringing the feet to the floor and exhaling, just rolling on to the side, rolling off the props, resting the head on the arm, taking a couple breaths here. Feeling the support and love of the earth beneath us. And then keeping our awareness in our body, pushing our way up to our seated posture. We can go ahead and sit on some props. Sitting with the spine straight and breathing our last few breaths into the back of the body, just noticing how much more open, spacious, and free we might feel here in the back of the body now. So I encourage you to continue to practice this breathing into the back. It can really help if you have any sort of back pain to breathe and expand the fascia and expand the space between the vertebrae. Always we want to respect our limits here. So if we're incorporating more back bending postures into our regular practice, just making sure not to push it beyond our limits. You know, we don't want to rupture any discs or pull any muscles. Always, feeling free to use the supports as we need them and slowly work our way into the more challenging postures that we might have encountered today. So thank you so much for coming. I wish you a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Namaste.